The grand ballroom shimmered under cascading crystal chandeliers, each delicate prism scattering light across polished marble floors. The air was thick with the mingling aromas of expensive perfumes, fine wines, and the subtle scent of fresh flowers meticulously arranged in towering vases. Guests moved gracefully through the room, their laughter and polite conversation creating a soft hum that contrasted with the occasional sharp click of camera shutters. This was no ordinary evening. It was the pinnacle of corporate elegance, the kind of gala that drew investors, socialites, and media magnates from across the globe. At the center of attention stood Julian Mercer, the CEO whose reputation for ambition and control preceded him. He was dressed in a tailored tuxedo that hugged his broad shoulders perfectly, his hair immaculately styled, and a confident smile that spoke of power and unshakable authority. Julian's presence seemed to command the entire room, his gaze sweeping over the crowd as though silently reminding everyone of his supremacy. Beside him, Vivien Hart moved with quiet grace. Her pregnancy added a soft, radiant glow to her otherwise composed demeanor. Her elegant gown flowed around her, emphasizing both dignity and gentle femininity, drawing appreciative glances without her seeking them. The air shifted when Julian, in a moment of calculated cruelty, publicly critiqued a minor oversight Vivien had made earlier that day. The words, carefully sharp, sliced through the polite chatter. Gasps rose around them, whispers rippled like waves through the assembled crowd. Vivien's eyes shimmered with unspoken hurt, yet she forced a serene smile, concealing the sting of humiliation. The contrast was striking. Julian's domineering presence versus Vivien's quiet resilience, setting the stage for a tension-filled evening that promised both drama and revelation. Vivien slowly moved away from the center of attention, her gown whispering against the marble floor as she made her way to a quieter corner of the glittering ballroom. Her heart still pounded from the sting of Julian's cutting words, and yet, beneath the shock and embarrassment, a flicker of determination ignited within her. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain composed, her hand resting lightly on the curve of her belly. The sensation grounded her, reminding her that she carried not just life but a future she intended to protect and shape on her own terms. As she leaned against a marble pillar, her mind wandered into memories of her carefully constructed double life. For years, she had cultivated her reputation as a shrewd and secretive investor, studying potential business partners with meticulous attention to detail, observing their strengths, weaknesses, and patterns of behavior. Julian Mercer, brilliant yet arrogant, had long been on her radar. She had chosen to conceal her identity in these business circles, maintaining a cloak of anonymity that allowed her to see the truth behind facades. The irony of the moment was not lost on her. The very man publicly undermining her now was the one she had been silently evaluating, the one whose empire she had quietly admired and critiqued in equal measure. Around her, the gala continued unabated. Investors exchanged business cards, negotiated discreetly, and subtly assessed one another's influence, entirely unaware of the intricate calculations running through Vivien's mind. She noticed alliances forming, deals being proposed, and the occasional misstep from Julian that went unnoticed by the untrained eye. The contrast between Julian's commanding public persona and the strategic errors she observed privately deepened her insight and fueled her resolve. Her eyes softened with both empathy and quiet amusement. She realized that strength often wore many faces, and tonight, hers would soon be revealed in ways Julian could never anticipate. A distinguished investor, a man known for shaping multi-million-dollar deals with a single conversation, approached Julian with a polished smile. "Mr. Mercer, your leadership continues to impress the industry," he said, extending a hand that had brokered countless influential alliances. Julian, however, barely acknowledged him, waving a hand dismissively as if the compliment were trivial. His mind was elsewhere, swirling with ego and the lingering irritation from earlier, failing to notice the subtle cues in the investor's expression, curiosity and mild disappointment at being brushed off. Vivien, standing nearby and observing everything with keen interest, recognized an opportunity. Without drawing attention to herself, she leaned slightly forward, her voice soft but confident. "Actually, if I may," she said, offering a perspective Julian had overlooked. "I believe there's a more sustainable approach to this merger, one that maximizes both long-term growth and market reputation." Her suggestion was precise, highlighting a critical nuance that Julian had ignored in his rush to dominate the conversation. The investor's eyes lit up with genuine intrigue. "That's a remarkably insightful perspective," he said, turning toward her with a smile. Julian glanced at Vivien, his curiosity piqued, though he still underestimated her influence, assuming she was merely a bystander. Vivien gave a polite nod, her composure impeccable, and gracefully withdrew from the interaction, leaving the investor impressed and thoughtful. Julian, caught between fascination and confusion, watched her leave, unaware that the very woman who had captured the investor's attention was not just an outsider. She was the hidden partner he had been seeking for his ambitious business venture, the one he had never realized was standing right beside him all along. The room fell into a hushed anticipation as Julian took the stage to deliver his keynote speech. Every eye followed him, the chandeliers above reflecting off the polished floors like 1,000 tiny spotlights trained solely on his commanding presence. Julian's voice carried easily over the gathered crowd, smooth and confident, yet underlined with a subtle sharpness that few could miss. As he spoke about leadership, ambition, and strategic vision, he couldn't resist inserting pointed remarks about Vivien, framing her decisions as inconsequential and almost naive. "Of course, we all make choices," he said with a sly smile, glancing in her direction, "even those who think they understand business as well as I do." The words, delivered with careful precision, were cutting, drawing a ripple of gasps from the crowd. Guests shifted in their seats, some casting sympathetic glances at Vivien, while others whispered quietly amongst themselves, sensing the tension between the power couple. Cameras captured every flicker of emotion, every forced smile, and every barely concealed glare. Amid the chaos, Vivien's phone vibrated softly in her clutch. A discreet message from a close friend appeared. "Julian's arrogance is catching attention. Influential people are noticing. Stay poised." She read it and allowed herself the smallest knowing smile. Though the embarrassment burned faintly in her chest, Vivien's composure never wavered. Her posture remained elegant, her smile serene, and her eyes calm, a stark contrast to Julian's sharp arrogance. Every movement of hers projected confidence, quiet intelligence, and unyielding strength. The contrast between them was undeniable. He dominated with ego, she commanded with poise. The silent power she radiated planted the seed for an inevitable reversal, hinting that tonight's humiliation might be the first chapter in Julian's unexpected comeuppance. The room remained oblivious to the storm quietly brewing, the audience primed for the twist that would soon turn the evening upside down. Later that evening, after the gala had settled into a quieter rhythm and most guests had retreated to private conversations or the lounge areas, Vivien's phone buzzed with a discreet notification. A message from an anonymous source appeared on the screen, the words carefully chosen yet brimming with urgency. "A high-profile investor is extremely interested in your insight. This could be the opportunity you've been waiting for." Her pulse quickened as she read and reread the message, recognizing immediately the magnitude of the moment. This was no casual compliment. It was an opening that could shift the balance of power in Julian's business world, an opportunity that few could even imagine. Vivien stepped into a secluded alcove, her movements deliberate, her calm exterior hiding the storm of excitement and calculation within. Moments later, she engaged in a private conversation with the investor, whose identity, while formally mysterious, held tremendous influence in global markets. She revealed her professional persona carefully, sharing insights and strategies that highlighted her acumen, her foresight, and her ability to navigate complex business landscapes. Every word was precise, every suggestion a calculated move that could determine the trajectory of Julian's expansion plans. The conversation flowed with a synergy of intellect and strategy, leaving the investor visibly impressed and eager to proceed. Meanwhile, Julian remained unaware, laughing and mingling with other guests, oblivious to the revelation occurring just steps away. The dramatic irony weighed heavily. The audience, along with Vivien, knew something he did not. His own wife, the woman he had publicly humiliated and underestimated, was the key to securing the future he had been so relentlessly pursuing. Vivien's dual identity unfolded in layers. She was at once loving and supportive, yet fiercely intelligent and shrewd, commanding respect without the need for spectacle. The juxtaposition of her private brilliance against his public ego made her not only sympathetic but awe-inspiring, setting the stage for the dramatic reversal that was quietly, inevitably approaching. The investor leaned back slightly, a look of admiration crossing their face. "Your insight is remarkable," they said, their voice tinged with both respect and curiosity. "I believe a strategic partnership would benefit both our ventures immensely, but it must proceed on your terms." Vivien met their gaze calmly, her expression composed yet assertive. She had anticipated this moment, meticulously preparing for negotiations without ever revealing her full hand. Her mind weighed options, potential leverage, and the long-term benefits, each thought calculated with precision. Drawing a gentle hand to rest against the curve of her belly, Vivien subtly underscored her resilience. The pregnancy, a symbol of both life and future legacy, became part of her unspoken strategy. She spoke with measured confidence, articulating not only her vision but also the unique advantages she brought to the table. The investor, impressed by her poise and depth of understanding, nodded in agreement, realizing that Vivien's approach combined foresight, strategic thinking, and an unwavering sense of purpose. By the end of the discussion, a mutually beneficial alliance was outlined, one that positioned Vivien as the controlling influence in the partnership while elevating the potential of Julian's empire beyond his wildest expectations. Meanwhile, Julian wandered nearby, still oblivious to the significance of the conversation that had just taken place. He interacted with other executives, his mind only partially aware that something was shifting in the room. A subtle tension tugged at his consciousness, an unacknowledged awareness that Vivien's presence had far greater weight than he had ever imagined. The quiet power she projected contrasted sharply with his own bluster and ego, beginning to tilt the balance of influence subtly in her favor. In that moment, the seeds of transformation were planted. Vivien's composed authority, combined with a strategic alliance she had forged, hinted at future confrontations, dramatic reversals, and the undeniable realization that the woman he had underestimated all along was quietly reshaping the course of his empire. Later that night, after the gala had quieted and most guests had departed, Julian found Vivien in the private study adjacent to the ballroom. The room was bathed in the soft glow of antique lamps, casting long shadows on the polished wooden floors. Julian's expression was a mixture of frustration, disbelief, and curiosity, a rare combination that left him momentarily unsteady. He closed the door behind him and fixed his gaze on her. "Vivien," he began, his voice tight, "I need to understand, why have you been so mysterious? What have you been doing behind my back? What are your intentions here?" His tone carried the edge of authority, but beneath it was something more vulnerable, the unease of a man suddenly realizing he might have underestimated someone close to him. Vivien looked at him calmly, her hands folded gently over her belly, her posture serene yet commanding. "Julian," she said softly, "my intentions have always been aligned with both our futures. What you don't know is that I've been observing, analyzing, and guiding critical decisions. Decisions that could determine the success of your expansion. I have been acting as both your partner in life and the investor whose insight you've been seeking. Everything I've done has been to ensure we both succeed." Her words were measured, revealing the layers of her dual identity while maintaining a composed authority. Julian's jaw tightened as the realization sank in. Every slight misstep he had made, every moment of oversight, had been quietly corrected by Vivien's subtle guidance. The emotional intensity in the room grew palpable, a mix of awe, guilt, and admiration radiating between them. He struggled to reconcile his ego with the undeniable truth. The woman he had dismissed, even humiliated, possessed brilliance and foresight that rivaled his own. The confrontation escalated further as they navigated a delicate balance of love, power, and vulnerability. Julian, humbled yet still proud, recognized Vivien's capabilities. She, in turn, balanced her authority with compassion, ensuring that their bond, both personal and professional, remained intact. In that charged private exchange, the dynamics of their relationship shifted irrevocably, setting the stage for a dramatic reversal in both business and personal realms, leaving Julien both shaken and enlightened. The gala had reached its pinnacle, the room alive with the hum of conversations, clinking glasses, and the soft rustle of elegant gowns. Julien stood near the center of the room, still riding the wave of his public persona, confident that he had the upper hand in both business and social influence. But then Vivien stepped forward, her presence commanding attention without effort. The chatter faded subtly as all eyes turned toward her, drawn by the quiet authority she radiated. She raised her hand slightly, signaling for silence, and began to speak with clarity and precision. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice calm yet resonant, "I have had the privilege of observing, analyzing, and guiding business strategies that many of you have admired tonight. It is now time to reveal my role." A pause, perfectly timed, allowed anticipation to ripple through the room. Then she continued, "I am the investor whose insight you've all sought to learn from, the one behind the strategic partnership that will elevate Julien Mercer's company to new heights." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Cameras flashed furiously, capturing the shock, the whispers, and Julien's face as color drained from it. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. He had been outmaneuvered, not by a rival CEO or a cunning executive, but by the woman he had dismissed, underestimated, and publicly humiliated. The corporate world, so attuned to power and dominance, paused in astonishment. Guests leaned in, whispering speculations, while reporters and social media influencers scrambled to record the unprecedented revelation. Julien, caught off guard, could only watch as his ego collided with the undeniable truth. Yet Vivien, composed and radiant, remained entirely in control. Her pregnancy, a visible symbol of life and resilience, added a layer of awe-inspiring dignity to her triumph. In that moment, she embodied strength, intelligence, and grace, a powerful reminder that true authority often comes quietly and unexpectedly. The power dynamic had shifted irrevocably. Julien's public humiliation contrasted sharply with Vivien's poised revelation, setting the stage for both personal and professional transformations that no one in the room would soon forget. After the gala had ended and the last of the guests had departed, Julien found himself standing alone in the quiet, dimly lit lounge of their penthouse suite. The echoes of the evening, the flashing cameras, the whispers of astonished investors, and the lingering shock of Vivien's public revelation, still hung in the air. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and disbelief, as he tried to process everything that had just occurred. Slowly, he turned to Vivien, who was seated gracefully on a plush armchair, her posture calm yet radiating strength. "Vivien," he began, his voice low and tinged with humility. I owe you an apology. I see now that I underestimated you, your insight, your intelligence, your vision. Tonight you've proven not just how brilliant you are, but how much strength you carry within you. I was wrong to belittle you, wrong to assume my perspective was superior. I am deeply sorry." His words were sincere, stripped of ego, carrying the weight of a man who had been forced to confront his own arrogance. Vivien studied him carefully, her eyes steady and unwavering. She allowed a pause before replying, letting the moment linger. "Julien, forgiveness is not given lightly," she said, her voice firm yet warm. "Respect must accompany love. I have guided you, supported you, and acted with the intention of our mutual success. Moving forward, I expect honesty, acknowledgement, and partnership, not dominance. Only then can we build a future together, both personally and professionally." Julien nodded, the tension between them softening as understanding began to replace pride. For the first time, he truly appreciated the depth of her capabilities and the balance she brought to both his life and his empire. Vivien, now publicly recognized for her strategic genius, had not only gained professional power but had also solidified her role as an equal partner. The couple embraced a new dynamic, one built on mutual respect and shared vision rather than ego or hierarchy. The audience, if they knew the story, would see a satisfying resolution: humility, empowerment, and love intertwined. The gala's drama had ended, leaving behind a harmonious balance of personal fulfillment and professional triumph, signaling a promising future for both of them. Several months had passed since the gala that had changed everything. Julien and Vivien were now frequently seen together in public, attending conferences, investor meetings, and corporate events, their partnership radiating both power and harmony. Gone were the days of subtle competition and ego-driven missteps. In their place was a synchronized blend of romance and business acumen that captivated everyone around them. Vivien moved with confidence, her presence commanding respect in every boardroom she entered. Her insights were sought after by industry leaders, her strategies shaping decisions that once would have been beyond her reach. Julien, meanwhile, had undergone a transformation of his own. The humility and awareness gained from witnessing Vivien's brilliance firsthand had reshaped his approach to leadership and life. He now supported her fully, offering guidance where appropriate but no longer overshadowing or dismissing her contributions. The balance between them was striking. She was empowered, he was enlightened, and together they forged a formidable force that impressed colleagues, investors, and competitors alike. Their child, a symbol of new beginnings and the future they were building, added another layer of depth to their shared journey. Each public appearance, each shared victory, carried the quiet affirmation that love, respect, and partnership could coexist with ambition and power. The world watched with admiration as they redefined what it meant to be a power couple, blending personal devotion with professional excellence. The lingering thrill of that dramatic reversal, the night Vivien revealed her true identity, remained an unspoken legend, leaving everyone inspired by a story of intelligence, resilience, and unwavering strength.